In this video, I'm going to tell you the 7 secrets of the Swanson Speed Square, including what's this guy for. Actually, there are way more than 7. We're just sounded more suspenseful to say 7 secrets of the Swanson Speed Square. Let's dive in. Now, number 1 is, of course, you can mark a 90-degree angle. Just put the lip up against the straight edge and you can mark your 90 that way. Flip it around and you can mark a 45-degree angle quickly and easily. Put your edge up against the straight edge and mark your line right there. But you can also use the Swanson Speed Square as a cutting guide. Again, put the lip up against the straight edge of the board. Then you can run your saw up against that as a fence. You can do the same thing with the 45 side. Flip it around. I just put the blade where it's going to go, slide my speed square up against that, up against the saw, and turn on the saw. Now I got a straight cut. And run the base of your saw up against the Swanson Speed Square like a fence at the 45-degree angle. And I can do the same with the 45. Also on the Swanson Speed Square, you have these degree indicators that makes it a protractor. So what we can do is put the pivot point marked here up against our straight edge of our wood and then turn the Swanson Speed Square so the other edge lines up with that degree. If you want to double check, you know what a 45-degree angle looks like. So there's your line, that's a 45-degree angle. But what if you want a 22.5-degree angle? What if you want to make a frame or something along those lines? Half of 45 is 22.5. We're going to put our point at 22.5 and cast our line right there. That is a 22.5-degree angle. You can do the same thing with 30-degree angle. There's a 30-degree angle. What if you want a 60-degree angle? That's a really steep angle. That's going to be out here. All by pivoting the Swanson Speed Square and lining up with those numbers. The Swanson Speed Square is also a great scribing tool if you want to quickly cast a measurement. These are 1/4 inch increments from 1/2 inch to all the way up to 3 inches. If I want to cast a line right at 3/4, all I have to do is put my pencil in that notch at 3/4 and then slide the Swanson Speed Square. That is not easy to say. All across the board, and now I've got a line at 3/4 in. So if I want to mark something or cut something, now I've got a 3/4 inch line. And that, like I said, goes all the way up to 3 inches. Swanson Speed Square is just over 7 inches this way. Reason being is because 2x4s are 3.5 inches wide. So if you want to quickly mark and set for cutting, 2 2x4s, you can lay them side by side and cast your line. Like if you're marking a stud location on a bottom plate and a top plate. But what's that diamond for? Like I just said, a 2x4 is 3.5 inches. Well, that diamond is right at 3.5 inches. Because if you wanted to mark where a 2x4 is going to go, like on a bottom plate, on a floor or some other surface, you just stick your pencil right in that diamond and slide your Swanson Speed Square right along there. Now you can quickly see where that bottom plate's going to go. In addition, the Swanson Speed Square makes it extremely handy to have if you're framing a wall. With these increments right here, 1/4 inch increments marked off. Let's say you want to mark off on your bottom plate all the placement of the studs going up. But you've got a load bearing stud where you want to have several studs there in the middle. So I'm going to mark off, okay, well, I've got a stud there, and that's going to be 1.5 inches thick. So there's going to be a stud. Slide that over there, 1.5 inches. There's going to be a stud. And this is really load bearing, so I'm going to have 3 studs next to each other. Now I know where the studs are going to be on this bottom plate. So again, here's going to be another stud. Slide that there. Okay, so I've got 3 load-bearing studs here and 16 inches on center from there is another stud. All because I used these increments right here. Now let's talk about the Swanson Speed Square and roofing. I want to focus mostly on this area that's marked as common. That's going to be your pitch of your roof. Most times in my experience, the pitch is 6/12, 10/12, 12/12. This is the steepness of the pitch of the roof. And our roof is pitched like this. We measure 12 inches and calculate how many inches it drops in that 12-inch span. So if it drops 6 inches in that 12-inch span, that's a 6/12 roof. If in this 12-inch span it drops 12 inches, that's a 12/12 roof. If you need to cut rafters, like in a new building or a shed or something, you need to calculate the angle of the cut of the rafter where it meets the ridge beam, because you want the angles to match up at the top of the rafter and at the bottom where it overhangs the wall. Mark it at 6 as well over here. Then we make our cuts. And now we have the matching angle where it's going to meet the ridge beam as well as where it's going to drop off the edge of the building. So now that we have the right angled cuts on the rafter where it meets the ridge beam, let's use our mock-up exterior wall to talk about the bird's mouth. So what the bird's mouth is, it's the point where the rafter touches the top plate of your exterior wall. What you want to do is you don't want to have all the weight of the roof bearing down on that one fine point. You want to spread the load through that entire rafter, so you make a cut called the bird's mouth, and the Swanson Speed Square helps us with that cut. We're going to make that same line, for discussion purposes, 6 inches off the end of that rafter. So we mark 6 inches, and then we're going to follow this same line. You'll see those 2 lines. Make sure those 2 lines line up with the mark of our end cuts. Now we cut that out, and that's going to be our bird's mouth. Then we can get a handsaw and finish the cut. And now that we have our bird's mouth cut out, you can see how it's going to fit on the top plate on the rafter. Just like so. That gives a lot more surface area for the rafter to sit on the top plate. The Swanson Speed Square can also help you with some calculation of some difficult mathematics. Let's say you want to turn this on a lathe or something. You want to quickly find center of the end of the board. With the Swanson Speed Square, you just cast a line from one quarter of the board to the other on both corners. And that'll be center. Also, you want to find center of a difficult fraction board. You can simply round up to the next number that you don't have difficulty finding the middle of. So in our case, it's 4. Put a mark at 2, and that's center of the board. You can also find center over here by casting a line, flipping our square over, lining it up with that line, that's also center. Now, it's not the best way, but in a pinch on the job site or wherever, you can find the trueness of a blade with the speed square. Pretty close. Now, of course, this is not every use for the Swanson Speed Square. Don't use it for tomahawk throwing like I've seen other videos recommend. This is a tool. Take care of your tools and they'll take care of you. I'm Eddie Field with Field Guide to DIY. I'll see you in the next video.